Make your favorite cartoon noise.
Right there.
Just keep swimming.
It's me, Mario.
What is happening? Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, not get into that. Well, let's get into it.
Why is he going? What cartoon is that?
Waluigi?
Yeah, doesn't Waluigi do that?
Oh,
Yeah.
dude,
Waluigi number one.
I actually use the. Actually, I shouldn't say this publicly because it's like if we get sued or something, but I don't care. Nintendo's not listening.
What?
Nintendo.
What was that?
I use the Wario sample
What was it again?
on Ronopono all the time. He's like, wah!
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
No, but actually, he says something else too. What is it? He says, I'm not gonna win.
Oh,
I'm not gonna win.
Yeah, but
Mario number one.
I think I just used the wah, like
Yeah.
when he wipes out Mario Kart.
Wowzers.
But okay, yours was not a real cartoon
Yeah, it is.
sound.
I'm a voice actor now, and I'm on a cartoon show. Watch it on Amazon now, so I can voice myself.
can we watch it
What
together
is
and
it?
roast you?
Huh?
Wait, what's the sound?
Dang, fake. Didn't watch it.
No, what is it?
I
What's
just-
the sound?
I was like, right there, but I didn't do that.
But you don't do that.
We had a show. Amber, what was yours?
I just said just keep swimming because I honestly didn't think you were starting the podcast right now, but cool.
You never know.
And we did.
That's the twist.
That's the twist.
Thank you guys for tuning in to an episode of Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer.
I'm Faraz.
My name is Amber.
And today we have a special guest
He
named,
visited himself.
named Dower. That's it.
Okay.
He's
just
a
casual.
TikTok star
He's
that
a
reached...
multi-thousand,
multifaceted.
Multi-thousand.
multi-thousandaire TikTok star
Wow.
Thousandaire
icon.
only in followers.
icon.
Don't expect it to be in the
not,
bank.
Not in the money. But this is brought to you by Alif Theory. You can find us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I think I'm forgetting some. And we're on
Apple Podcasts?
No.
He's not there
I
yet.
was
He's
talking
on
about the
social media.
medias.
Oh.
Bro, you don't even
Wow.
know.
Over here.
Let me do my
I just
job.
know that you always miss that one, so I was just like,
ready to come at him.
However,
I believe in you, Shami.
However, you can listen to...
can you stop doing that?
Doing what?
I'm doing my
Swinging
job.
around.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
He didn't forget.
SoundCloud.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
And the visual aspect where you can see our beautiful faces on YouTube.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
And if you want to email us with your cool stories
Or questions.
or questions or amazing music, or you just want to send us, a cute little message.
Hi, hey, how you doing?
like how you doing? We'll
read it.
We'll read it. And that's on strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com.
And that's on period.
And if you want to get our merch, that is always on aliftheory.com/shop. We have Alif Theory gear there. Also, you can click the Redbubble link where you can find Strange Flavors, Ronopono, and Alif Theory gear. And
posters.
It's awesome.
Like
And
our friend.
If you want to get a poster of us, that would be awesome.
I really want to see
Yeah.
that girl's poster.
Wait,
that she
you
put in
copped
her.
a poster?
Yeah.
Yeah, the contest winner.
Am I on it?
Did you say
No.
bro?
Then why'd you cop?
Okay, I don't think anybody gets your jokes besides you.
But it's okay.
Oh, damn.
He just like
Oh, are you sure? I think 10,000 people are following me that are
On
interested in my
TikTok.
jokes.
yeah. See, like you have to say on TikTok. Like people don't just know that. You're not having conversation. This is
Yo, when
going
you're
out to the world.
speaking to a TikTok star, you need to come with a little bit more respect,
Yeah,
okay?
dude. You don't
like
know him.
watch how you're speaking to him.
Yeah.
We haven't had this.
I'm
somebody
doing you
this
a favor
famous.
by being on this
Thank
show.
you.
What
We
is the
really
show
appreciate
called?
your presence.
What is the show called? Flavor Strange?
Yeah, something
the
like
flavors
that,
are so
yeah.
strange.
Okay,
too.
Even I
apparently-
forgot.
Apparently, this has turned into the DD and Dexter podcast. Amber's DD and Dower's Dexter.
Oh my God. We should
Earlier,
start a podcast.
earlier today, we
Those are
had
terrible.
we had Amber try cow tongue
Yeah.
from our guest's wife today.
Yes.
Why did you try the cow tongue and how was it?
Because, like, you know what? You guys are. Never mind. I can't say that word. You guys need to
She was gonna
be
use the P word.
a little bit more adventurous. And everybody was like, ew, ew. And I was like, listen.
I can't get behind like my tongue eating
Another
another
tongue.
tongue. It's so weird.
It was also
the texture
weird
is
because
disgusting.
when we eat meat, like it has seasoning and it's like in a curry or whatever. She straight up brought a cow tongue that was like steamed.
It
There
looked
was no
like a
flavor on
tongue.
it.
It was a boiled tongue.
Yeah, and it was gray. It wasn't
was
even like
gray.
pink.
And when you
would that
ate-
be weirder? If it
in
was
the
like
no,
a
but
pink
in the
tongue?
It was
middle
weird
is pink.
regardless.
In the middle is pink.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
So wait, was it good?
It honestly, if I'm being so honest, it just tasted like kaleji. What's kaleji?
Liver.
It tasted like
Yeah,
liver.
then I
Shamir
wouldn't
recently
like it.
had some goat liver.
Yeah,
For the first time ever?
I think so. I think I've probably had it before, but it's not a common thing. So,
But
I don't
that
like
looks
liver, so I
that
wouldn't
doesn't look like if it was chopped up and like spiced up, you wouldn't even know it's a cow
Yeah,
tongue.
for sure.
But the
Yeah.
way you bit it looked like you're just biting into another.
you're like about
Yeah.
to make
person's
out with
tongue
it or something.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
it tasted just like liver.
Yeah. Well, that's weird. But you said that there was something that has been bothering you recently that you found out.
Yeah, I mean, it's
was
something
that?
that's always bothered me. It's honestly not even a big deal, but
This is a pet peeve?
it's a pet peeve, but it's not something that somebody else does. I've just come to realize that I can't use metal utensils. Like, I have to use
Amber,
plastic.
that's not a.
Why?
The thing is, like, I don't know what it is with my teeth. I can't handle, like, metal touching my teeth.
Ooh, actually, I get what you mean.
It's such a weird
Wait, so
sensation.
when you go to a restaurant, do you ask for plastic?
Can I get the plastic?
If they have plastic, I'll just get, like, to go.
No, but what if you're like eating at the restaurant?
I'll ask for a to-go thing, but if I can't,
you're one of those people.
if I can just like get away with it, I will. Like, I'll just like try not to put my like mouth on it. But I have like, my nephews live with me in the house, and they have those plastic kid forks and spoons, so I will only use those. I don't know what it is about the sensation of metal touching my teeth that drives me insane.
What are you doing?
I like to yawn into the mic.
I actually get what you mean because I
get it
do
too.
that with certain foods sometimes, like yogurt, for example. Mm-hmm. It feels really weird for some reason eating it with a metal spoon, and it's so much easier to like bite down on the plastic and
Yeah.
like I'll actually like.
Why are you biting on it?
Well, you have to
It's just like you have to get the yogurt out.
yeah, like
I
to
know
close
what
your
you-
mouth off around the spoon.
I know what you mean. Yeah. And I just like whether it be a straw or a spoon or something, I like biting on it, just like play with anyways. So with a metal spoon or fork, you can't do that.
It just makes it gives me the same sensation that nails on a chalkboard
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
I've seen
Yeah.
videos.
I'm
of
not
people where
I'm not
they,
mad
like,
at this pet
do
peeve.
the
Yeah.
fork thing. Like,
Shamir does not agree with us, it seems.
I'm like
He's
indifferent.
neutral.
I really don't care. Like,
Metal things don't bother you?
no, I mean, I only get plastic because like it's just easier to throw away. You don't have to put it in the dish. Like,
In the dish?
Yeah, the dishwasher.
Plastic.
You
Stuff
know
like that
what?
for
You
the
know what else I
environment.
can't get behind? Metal straws. I'm so sorry.
I've never
reusable-
had one.
Never tried it.
They have like them as reusable straws, and I would rather use a plastic one because, I mean,
You
like,
wanna kill turtles.
No. They have the reusable plastic
Because
ones.
you want to kill turtles.
No, they have
Oh,
reusable
okay,
plastic
okay.
ones, but like
deal.
the metal ones are popping
Shamir's
up
fake
everywhere, and I
PC.
can't.
No, I'm just
I
Trying to
I can't do
build
those
controversy.
paper straws though.
Paper straws
Oh, no.
are terrible.
they suck.
I don't understand why we can't just use like the cup.
I don't like
the
putting
straw.
my mouth on like
no,
the
but
actual
sometimes
cup.
the straw hits different.
I used to be very like germophobic and stuff like that with that kind of stuff, but now I don't really care that much. Like, especially because it's just like the more you find out how unnecessary something is, like a plastic straw, it's just like, okay, well, it's not that big of a deal. If the cup is clearly dirty or something, then it's just like, all right, let's get in. What's going on here?
It's the same thing with glass too for me though. Like, it's not nearly as bad.
Oh, about the biting thing?
Yeah.
And you'd rather have a plastic cup
I would rather not a plastic cup.
or a paper?
I would rather have a straw if I'm in a restaurant, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mind if I'm in the house, but I prefer our plastic cups. Not the disposable kind, but like the reusable, like to go type
The
cups.
ones that don't kill turtles.
The ones that
Yeah.
don't kill turtles. But I don't think plastic cups kill turtles.
Yeah.
Also, I think they're much easier to recycle.
Probably.
What cups?
Paper cups.
Yeah.
Versus plastic straws. I saw this story recently that was really crazy, but I want to share it with you guys. So there was this marine biologist, and he was like diving somewhere around Israel, right? And he saw what was like this like building structure underwater.
Okay. Atlantis?
It's a giant plastic straw.
And
Ariel?
he goes towards it, and he sees windows. So he's like, "Let me look
Stop.
inside." And then he sees like a bar area and like poles and stuff.
It's a sunken building.
It's a strip club.
A
It's an
sunken sink club.
underwater strip club.
Stop.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
but how do you get in? Like Sandy's house
It's
in
under-
SpongeBob?
I don't know, but like it's
probably
meant
use,
to
like,
be
a-
underwater. Apparently, it was previously like a restaurant, then turned into a strip club, and then it's just like been abandoned ever since then. But like
Wait, so were the strippers like in scuba diving gear? Like,
Amber,
sorry.
It's not an active
It's
running.
it's not under. It's like there's air inside. It's not water inside.
There's air in it still, even though it's abandoned?
Yeah, like it's not. You can like it's sealed.
Oh, it's sealed.
Huh. That
It's
changes
not,
things.
you know, like an underwater hotel or something.
Oh, it was made to be underwater.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not like submerged in water.
So then why didn't anyone find this out earlier?
Maybe they did, but like this, he just recently discovered this,
Can
and
you
then
explain
like
how it's sealed?
Amber's
There's-
just trying to get inside.
Is it like
Trying to work there?
is it like a dome?
Are they hiring?
it's not a. It's like there's buildings that exist that are made to be underwater. Like
Yeah, but
hotels
that's like hotels that are on the top and then it dips to the bottom too.
oh, like half
Yeah.
full?
Maybe there's like a fire pole to get down.
No, I'm sure
Wait,
there's
but
some
then
way
wouldn't
to.
you stop because you would float?
No.
But it's just interesting that like we don't know how long it's been there, and there isn't like much information on it. But it's in like it could have gone back like however long, and it's
So
around
in
one of
order
like
for people to get there, they would have to like
I wanna
make sure
know-
their money isn't wet.
Yeah.
Getting
'cause
down
they
there.
that's a good point.
And
What do you
also
do?
their
you
clothes.
don't get in from the water.
How do you get in?
How do you get in?
You probably take like
So then why did he have to scuba dive
Yeah.
to get there?
There was no
he wasn't
access
trying
from the
to find
top?
it. There's just windows that you can.
Wait, so what you're telling me is it's not connected from above water to the below. It's just below. So
no,
how would
nobody
they get
said
in?
that. Nobody said that it's
Okay.
only below. That there's no. I'm sure you get in from the top. I'm sure there's stairs or
You're
an
sure
elevator.
or you're sure?
You guys are missing like the point. I don't know like the. I read the article. It doesn't say the details of how you get inside.
Okay, well that's really important here.
Yeah, it's like
Are the strippers getting wet? Were they getting wet before they went into work every day? What about in the winter? Is there a submarine that takes them?
Do they
they
have-
get wet when they get out of the submarine to get
Do
inside
they
the
have
building?
W-2s?
Nobody takes
do they have W2s?
tax season. People pay your taxes. No, it's just I just thought that it's really bizarre that
That's insane.
Imagine finding that.
Yeah.
But I
Have a lot
theory.
of questions.
Okay. What's your theory?
It hasn't been found. Like I'm sure that it's made
Yo,
for people
Ariel.
like Ariel, the mermaids
Yo.
To strip.
who come over there.
But they can't survive in air. You said it's airtight.
You go no, the people come inside and then look outside.
And Ariel is a stripper.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's crazy.
Whoa.
That's crazy. I like that theory.
Where like the Kraken comes.
Thank you. Well, you kind of ruined like the whole story, but
I think we
with the
made it
technical
spicier.
aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made it spicier. Like
We're trying to figure
You guys,
out.
you guys want to go check it out?
People
I'm down.
listening want to
I just
know
don't want
these
the
answers.
my cash to get wet.
Yeah.
Because I need to use it.
Are you
right?
gonna throw
Yeah.
wet dollar bills
no, you
on?
can't.
You throw
you
fish.
Can't rain.
You throw fish.
Okay,
Like
but like
goldfish?
then how?
Ariel, yeah, like Ariel is
Is
not
it like
gonna
a
need
glove
money.
that you put your hand in and then throw fish? Because then the fish is gonna get wet when you. The inside's
Amber,
gonna get
Amber,
wet.
Amber, the fish is gonna get wet.
Like, listen,
Boy.
you
Amber,
get what I'm
Amber,
saying?
Amber, hold on.
Okay,
When you're
hold on. This is
inside the
where we end
building,
it.
listen. When
Amber
you're
has
inside the
shown her
building,
true,
idiocracy.
IQ.
her true IQ.
No, the fish. Think about it. Like if you're throwing fish to like like when you're at the zoo,
Amber does
right?
this thing sometimes where she thinks she's going on a smart rant,
Just by
and
getting
it's
louder.
not a smart rant.
But when you're
and then she
inside the
reveals
building-
Yeah.
her actual intellect.
Okay, answer
somewhere
my
in there.
Hear me
question.
if I talk
If
like
it's
this?
airtight and you have a fish inside, how
Amber,
are you
we're done-
throwing
we're
it to
done.
the
We're done
fish
with this.
outside without you either getting wet, the inside either getting wet, or you not being in the outside?
Maybe there's
That's
like
a
little
logical question, Shamir. Don't even front.
Okay.
No, you know those
I stopped
tubes
listening.
that they use in the bank?
Okay,
You
fine.
know, you know those tubes that they use in banks to send
Yo,
the money?
yeah.
So maybe they use
That's
that.
thank you. That's a logical explanation.
Yeah.
Last topic before we introduce the guest.
I'm
Am I
ready.
the guest?
I wanted to ask you guys what you do when you can't remember somebody's name. Does that happen to you?
I don't remember names.
I
at all.
remember faces.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm the
remember.
same.
go on
Like
Instagram.
when someone comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, how's it going?" and like you just don't remember
Oh.
them, because that happens to me every time. I'm
I-
really bad with names.
I just say,
Always
"What's up, my
say,
guy?"
"Oh my god, hey,
Yeah,
how
what's up,
are
my
you?"
guy? It's a
Pretend
girl.
like I just match their energy.
So you fake it.
No, I just match their.
Do you ever
energy.
ask them at any point like, "What's your name again?"
Or have they
No.
ever been like, do you even remember my name? Have
You
ever
guys
gotten hit
never
with
say that? I say that the first time. I was like, "Give me your name again." like in a nice way.
I'll do that if I know I met them once before. Then it's fine.
Yeah.
But if I've known I've seen them like 5 or 6 times, I'm like, I can't ask. Like, even though I should, but I'm just like,
But what if you don't know if you've ever seen them?
then I'll ask.
Oh no.
You know, I found out of years of being so bad at remembering names. The best technique is like when they ask, you know, to hang out or like, you know, check out something, whatever. I pull up like the address thing and then I give them my phone. I'm like, yeah, just give me your number. And then because it's a blank address thing, they have to put their name there too. So then I see it. I'm like, yeah, so Joe, like, that's good. Or
That's a really good one.
I know. Well, you're welcome. And also, just asking somebody who else is there's like, yo, like, who's that guy again?
You ask me that all the time.
That's
Oh, yeah, I do. yo, Sham. Okay, this is funny. So we used to perform like every semester at my school, and there was this guy there, and he would come to every single one of the shows.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, yo, I'm the biggest fan and stuff, and he was really cool. Like, we'd have a great conversation.
Yeah.
But I literally just, like, I'm so bad at remembering names.
Yeah, and he would
I'd be like-
request like, hey, can you shout me out when you're on stage?
Yeah, he'd be like, "Yo, give me a shout out." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sick." And then I'd be like, "Shamir, like, what's his name?" and Shamir's like, "Bro, this is like the third time you met him." And
What if he's listening to this right now?
No, he's not listening to it.
Yeah.
He also ended up inviting us to his wedding.
Yeah, and made him the MC.
Yeah, I was like, "What if I forget his name when I'm introducing him?" Yeah.
That's insane.
Oh, was this the one that we crashed already? Or
Yeah.
is this the upcoming one?
No,
Yeah,
we
no,
crashed
no,
like
no.
a year and a half
Yeah,
ago.
now guys, apparently we keep getting invited to weddings because people want us to crash them, and they don't tell their
Families.
their wives, and so they like the guys end up being fans, and then they're like, yo, like, just come crash it, like my wife doesn't know and stuff, and like it'll be funny. And I'm just like, are you sure? But the last one was awesome because we ended up performing and they had a great time. It's only the aunties and uncles that are like, they're eating all the food, we were paying per
What is
head.
going on?
But it's funny.
What
It's
are
good
these
stuff.
balloons?
So
The-
invite us to your wedding if you want us to crash it. And
The
we'll
only
come
time
through.
that I've the reason why I don't ask what's your name again is or introduce myself is because I've had like this happen like 3 times at least in the last year.
Wait, you don't reintroduce yourself?
Yeah, I won't be like, "Hey, I'm Amber." I'll be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Because then they're like, "Oh yeah, I know we met." And at that point, I feel very awkward because when
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh yeah, we already met. Oh, we met at da da da," so I'll just be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And so whatever, if they're like, "Oh my god, hi," I'll be like, "Hey," like
I just don't know how
same
people
energy.
remember names that, especially in a like group setting.
But I
where
don't think you need
you're
to
being
remember their
introduced.
names sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's just a hi and a bye.
yeah. Yo, one time.
Well, it's just really embarrassing.
One time there was this like person. I was like, "Hey, like, nice to meet you. My name is Shamir." Like, I was introducing myself first, and then she goes, "I've known you for 8 years."
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. And I was like, "What?" And she
Bruh.
clicked out in front of me, like in front of everyone. She's like, "I've known you for such a long time." And apparently, she was like, she used to come to like my family parties back when we were kids.
You didn't recognize her or what?
I didn't recognize her, and like,
But did you know her?
I didn't know her like that at all. Like, I didn't. How am I supposed to know her? Like, I know her mom. That's it. But I didn't know her. And I guess she knew me because she was younger. I guess. But I
That'd
was
be
like,
hilarious. Her mom walks by, you're like, "Oh, Salam Kwanti," and use her full name. And then she's like, "What the heck?"
That's so funny.
so I was like, "Oh my! I'm never doing this again. I'm never introducing myself again."
Yeah.
I don't
No.
remember anyone's name. You notice I do this all the time. I'll just be like, "Yo, what's up, fam?" Or "Yo, what's up, my guy?" That's all I do.
Yeah, that's what I would do to that guy sometimes at the shows. I'd be like, "Yo, shout out to my guy,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "Yeah, that's me."
I'm this guy.
so sorry.
I'm this guy.
I'm so sorry if you're listening. You probably know who you are. He's like, he still doesn't. I actually forgot his name. Like, I can't even
And you
remember
were-
it right
and
now.
you emceed his
think I know
wedding?
it.
Did it begin with a T?
No.
Okay, never mind. Never mind. Okay, we'll talk
It starts
about
with
it
an
afterwards.
M.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, even I know.
Oh, I know now. I know what it is. This, I guess, part of this is just because like being an introvert forced to be in like an extroverted field is very hard. And I want to end this with a tweet from Wale,
Okay.
who is a rapper that I admire a lot and is underrated forever. He said, "My social skills are declining at a rapid pace. Some of us ain't mean or arrogant. Conversations be hard to maintain when you got a lot going on up top. and I thought that was like pretty accurate for like people going through
And social anxiety too.
social anxiety, and just like the standard for a lot of people that we see on social media that like can't hold a conversation in person, but online they're super talkative. So yeah, I mean, it's one of the side effects of it, I guess.
Because you're expected to have, like, in that world, you're expected to hold yourself up in a certain way.
Oh, for sure.
some
And
people
people
just-
expect you to just like be this guy.
And you're like, but I have this talent that I was sharing with the world. I didn't like necessarily sign up to be a personality.
And especially as an artist, just being somebody who takes their time articulating words and thoughts into what they're trying to make it mean, and then somebody to, think that just because they've done it in this way, that at any given time, that they're just gonna, radiate this type of energy, and that's just not the case.
On demand.
On demand, exactly. So that's just interesting. But moving on, I'm really excited to introduce the guest today, who I think we learned a lot from.
Yes.
An extremely empowering and enlightening conversation that we had. And he is a stranger who is a war veteran with very unique ideas about the military-industrial complex. And he is
And I don't
using...
want that to scare people off, though. Like, this is a very, like, deep podcast in the sense that, like, he explains things in a way that I've personally never heard this perspective ever. So I really hope that you guys stick around and listen to this all the way through.
And the really cool part is that he comes from that background, but he's using tattooing now to help heal himself and others from PTSD. So a very cool story. Stay tuned. It's amazing. We hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening to this episode. Please welcome Chris.
It's Timmy Tits and I'm back in it.
We start recording. So all of them go together?
I mean, I have a basic theme throughout my whole body, except for here is when, like, I guess in tattooing, it's known that if you get a name, it's kind of bad luck for a relationship.
Yeah.
So,
But you put your wife on it.
so I just put her whole picture.
Face.
The whole
And,
face.
It's been pretty good luck so far. We've been married for 14 years, and my daughter also looks like her, so in the worst case scenario, I could be like,
He
a
said,
little
yeah,
Tila.
we'll just say it's my daughter. If it's
Yeah, but I don't say we've been together for 15 years now. We're good.
That's awesome. Do you ever do like cover-ups of like
People's names.
people's names or
Yes.
faces or something?
Yeah, I would say between first tattoos and cover-ups, it's probably 80% of what I tattoo.
No way.
Yeah, so many people
Wow.
get bad tattoos because there's Maryland's really loose on like regulation for tattooing, so people literally do it out of their house. They order a machine off of Amazon, and they basically just go at it. So I have an example this week. Somebody came in, and he was literally nothing but bad tattoos, and he's like, the first one I want to do is he for some reason want to get the Superman shield on his forearm, and the artist, when you do stencils, you have to like flip them, so when you put them on, they look straight. So the artist put the thing on the Superman shield on backwards.
And he let him tattoo it that whole way through?
Yeah. So he says, I was looking at it like this, and I felt like something was wrong. So it ended up looking like he got branded with the Superman thing, and it doesn't really look like the Superman tattoo, but that's the kind of stuff we end up fixing, and it's actually not bad for us because it does create business.
Yeah. Can you hold it up just a little bit higher?
Yeah, sure.
What else makes like a bad tattoo aside from just it being wrong?
Line work's really important. Saturation. There's so much that goes into it. I'm still probably will forever be a student. It's like not one of those things that you ever just like, I'm where I need to be. Like you strive, I guess, just like anything that you do that you're passionate about. But, it's every day I'm learning, and I got 5 other artists that I work with that are amazing, and we kind of vibe off of each other's artistic energy, and so.
Do you ever go to like parties and stuff and people are like, yo, can you tattoo me?
Yeah, I get a lot of that, Most of my
besides like at your workplace, do you tattoo outside of that?
Oh no, I because of the cleanliness of our shop, like I don't want to do cross contamination. I would never go to somebody's house or have tattoo parties. None of that stuff. It's just too much stuff that can go wrong. Our stations are very sanitary, very clean. So we don't.
I had like friends in high school that would do it with like I forget what it was.
A
like
needle
pen.
and ink.
Yeah.
It's called a stick and
or
poke.
paper clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, paperclip. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
What?
And they, I forget what they did
ink.
exactly, but it was permanent. Like whatever they did.
Stick and poke.
Yeah, and they got it like on their ankle or whatever, and just casually doing it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah, they're
Man,
the
I don't
guys
know.
that we're usually covering all this stuff. So,
You've covered up a lot of stick and poke.
yeah.
that's funny. So I think it's super interesting, like how you even got into tattooing. And you wrote into us a little bit about like, you know, you initially started helping people with PTSD. Is that right?
Well, yeah, that's what initially got me into tattooing, but that's because I had gotten PTSD myself from serving in the military.
Yeah. So let's go into that. Like, I mean, you before all the tattooing stuff, like when you're a young man, what pulled you into wanting to serve the country?
Yeah, so there's like a narrative that the military kind of uses as their marketing tool is that, you know, there's a lot of people that grew up in pretty poor situations like I did. Both my parents were addicted to heroin. I basically had to raise myself.
Did you grow up in Maryland?
I did. Yeah, I grew up in I was in the city till probably like 13, and I moved out to Essex, which is not really much different than the city. Yeah. And was just surrounded by, you know, drugs, and my parents and the community. There's a lot of, you know, that kind of stuff going on. And
by the way, for people that don't know, Maryland has a huge problem with that to this day,
Yeah,
and
they
has been
do.
increasing. So a little known fact there.
yeah, and that will bring me to kind of like to the point of how I ended up, you know, I actually watched, you know, my mother basically die from heroin use, and my father ended up being a drug counselor, but the ironic thing is he walked out in the street and got hit by a car, and he's been walking the streets of Baltimore his whole life. Like it was really weird. But to get back to it, so I was in.
Wait, how old were you when that happened, real quick?
That just happened like 2 years ago.
Oh wow!
And
So
your
I
mom?
hear that.
So I didn't have a relationship with my father for my whole life because he abused my mother when we were young. But you know, I believe in forgiveness because I can't harbor that hate. And he got his life together, came back to my life, asked for forgiveness and to my face, which is what I wanted him to do, and explained to me how his life was spinning out of control, and that how he would be a grandfather to me and Anastasia's children. And I let him back in my life, and he was doing great. And so we did salvage a couple years of his life. He died 72, I believe. And
Well, that's still like really incredible that, you know, you were able to do that, and he was able to go out knowing that.
yeah.
That's kind of really beautiful.
It was important
I mean,
for me, and I did that for my mom too, who our relationship, because you know, once I had kids, I was like, this is how you treat kids, and I realized how I got treated, you know. And so when my mother would do all these hurtful things to me and my children, I kind of had to push her out. But in her last 6 months, I would say, she spent in the hospital, and you know, basically she lost her whole colon from using heroin over all those years. So she had 15 inches of her colon cut out, and then just systematically every organ started shutting down. So that's why I think they call it a slow suicide. If it doesn't get you like quick on like an overdose, it will get you in the long run. It's just a matter of time, you know. And but I did on her last moments, I kissed her on her head and told her I forgave her, and I, you know, that was like the most I could do, I guess. You know,
That's
at that
crazy.
point.
How old were you when
This
she
was
passed
like
away?
4 years ago, so
Okay.
you know, 40s, you know. So
Yeah.
it was tough, and I've seen a lot of friends and people go through it. It's
And it probably hindered you from wanting to join that lifestyle.
absolutely. So that brings me why I joined the military. You know, the narrative that they put out, and it's a lot of people that are in need. You know, I feel like it happens still is that, you know, we can pay for your education. Like that's something that I never thought I would give, because my parents are not going to pay for me to go to college. You know, I never really wanted to go to any type of war or fight anybody. I just wanted to get an education, and that was the only way I could see getting it. I didn't have any other way to get skills. You know, so I got my girlfriend at that time pregnant, and I'm like, I'm not going to be my dad, you know, and take off like he did. So I joined, you know, and that's how I ended up in the military.
How old were you when you joined?
I was 19,
Okay.
right out of high school.
And like, what did they initially sort of like give you that you needed? You said, you know, they give you things that you
Skills.
need. What does that
Oh, well,
entail?
you know, obviously they pay you, which in the beginning is not very good, but they offer you a free education. So they'll give you money to go to college while you're serving, you know. But what they tell you is like, it's really hard to go to college while you're, you know, being deployed or doing this or that and this. But, you know, they tell you that because that's like, a lot of people need that and they can't get it, you know.
Right.
They may not qualify for educational, financial help or, you know, whatever it is. But, you know, there's you know, rarely did I run into anybody that joined the military to be fighting in a war.
Right.
So there's a lot of different reasons they make you believe you're joining for.
What branch did you end up
Army.
joining? The Army? And you don't have to go into super detail about anything, but like, what was your experience? Like, where did they send you, and you know, what did you end up doing there?
My first duty assignment ended up being over in Germany, and you know, which was crazy because like at that point I've never been in Essex, and I've never even been around people that really wasn't addicted to drugs. So being thrown into this situation, then going to Germany was like really a eye opener for me. However, the job I had like entailed some really harsh realities about the world, and at that age I still didn't really put it together. I believed the things that I were doing was to protect freedom in America, which later on I come to realize that freedom in America has never been at stake as far as I could see, you know.
Were you super patriotic?
No, and actually the longer I stayed in, the less patriotic I got. And I think a lot of people will probably not like me saying that are in or got out, or, you know, because a lot of people get into that mentality because it's a brainwashed mentality that, you know, we're doing this because these people who are different than you are a threat to you, and they're really not, you know. And I've got to meet, you know, like I have arguments with people that have never been out of their county, let alone their state. They're telling me how these people are, which could be
what people like.
Well, which could be a Arab
Foreigner,
nation,
okay.
like it could be Iraq, Afghanistan. I mean, you can put, most of the time they don't even know the difference of what they're talking about, you know. And so, you know, and I think that all started with the terrorism stuff, you know, and that become a lump stereotype for anybody that would come from that region. It doesn't even matter. It could be Israel. It could be, they don't know. They really don't know. And want to argue with me about it when I met people there and I'd seen loving families that are just trying to be happy just like they are here, and are just as afraid of us as you've been made to be afraid of them.
Is that what made you kind of come up with this whole thought process? What initially triggered
So
that?
what happened was I ended up getting PTSD from seeing, you know, I don't want to get into too much detail, but
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen a lot of casualties.
Okay.
I've never got injured myself, and I'm considered a disabled vet because of the mental anguish that I've been put through and the things that I've seen. You know, and that's about as broad as I can leave it because I don't want to like get in any type of, you know. But what happened was I had gotten to so much mental anguish from what I'd seen, I was able to finish my schooling in marketing. So I did take advantage of the things they gave to me, and they actually moved me into a recruiting position. So then I got into recruiting people. And that's how I started realizing I understood more now the sales pitch and the marketing approach of the armed forces, of how they work on the psychology of the youth of this country. Okay. And
So it wasn't until then that you started recruiting that you started realizing like what it was?
And what I was going through. And then things started opening up to me because I was like, you know, I'm selling this thing to these people, and I've seen really what it does. I ended up here because I'm in like really bad mental anguish to go along with what I went through with my parents. So for me, it was like so much self-searching and trying to understand what was happening. And so I was very successful at recruiting because I just have a gift of talking. But I started becoming a conscientious objector because I had one kid that I had put in who was a high school student, 17. And
that's a really young age to start recruiting too.
And it's funny to me that you can fight a war for this country at 17, but you can't get a beer, you know, or vote for that
because
matter.
they also think that you don't have the maturity to make a decision, but you can put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, you can go to war for them, but you can't vote at the voting booth. And that to me is like crazy. You know, I mean, it's only a year, but still.
You know what's really interesting so far from what you've said is that you know, you experienced and saw, you know, your parents go through something that really affected you deeply, and you forgave them. and then you went through something similar with the Army, where you were impacted, and then you were a recruiter, and then you kind of tried to look out for other people. It's like a pattern that's
it is
really interesting in your life,
and it actually that's what will end up being how I got into tattooing. And the thing that really got me to where I really started having second doubts about the way the military was operating their stuff is I had to mother. I put a kid in. I remember his name, Jordan. I'll never forget him.
This is a 17-year-old?
Yes. I put him in, and he would always call me. He was one of the people that actually joined because he loved his country. I didn't have many people join for that reason. And he ended up getting killed, over there. And I remember his, this is like a really pivotal moment in where my mind started going where it was going, is that his mom called, and she my office partner answered her phone, and she's like, she want to talk to Sergeant Zag. And I'm like, oh God, you don't want to talk to the parents of, I was responsible for putting him in, so I was thinking the worst.
So his parents called you?
Yeah, after he passed. So
wow.
How did that go?
Yeah, so I got on the phone thinking that she's going to just, and she actually thanked me, and she was like, Jordan loved his country, and since the day he could walk, he always wanted to be a soldier, and he died for what he believed in. And that impact was so profound to me, because I know that reason is farce. It's not.
Why? What do you mean by
Jordan really believed that he was fighting an enemy, that really wasn't an enemy. And that's the mentality of a lot of the people that are supporting the military, is they really believe that we're doing some honorable thing by going over and destroying families, killing people, doing the things we do.
It has to take a certain level of nationalism to do that.
It does. And
is that what you were told and what you believed when you were?
Yeah, definitely. When I was coming up, like, if you're lower rank, you're not told that, you're just given the mission. You're not like,
sure.
But it's all an agenda, and it's all part of a bigger narrative. So when this happened to me, they were like, now again, I'm at a point where so much has happened to me that they got to move me from a job. So they made me a marketing director, which was kind of crazy, because I was in marketing. So I ended up getting even on a bigger national level, where I was dealing with, my office had a budget of millions and millions of dollars. I was basically working with a friend of mine, I don't want to mention, because he's still in, but, and we would be given, anywhere from $5 to $30 million a year of taxpayers' money. And our job was to use that money to find and get people to join. And
so you're just doing the same thing, but at a bigger scale.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, the worse that I thought of it, the bigger situations I got myself into. And but through every level of that, I felt like there was growth happening inside of me that was eventually, get me to where I'm at now. And
do you feel like there's any part of your training or the training that happened that makes you believe that there is the enemy that you're fighting? Or do you feel like that comes from the people, from like a mindset of the people who join?
I think for the most part, it comes from narratives and propaganda that's pushed out by our government. And I know, like, a lot of people think, oh, this is a propagandist. He's coming up with, all. But this is just from my experience and what I've seen, and how I've seen what they've done with the money, and that leads me to the military-industrial complex. So any president, regardless of which one, you could pick Obama, you could say Bush, you could say currently Trump, has found a way to funnel money into the military-industrial complexes, which people don't understand is a majority of the tax budget goes into this. And, basically anytime that they can push for war or something going on that involves conflict, they're able to use that to draw money from the population and justify it as protecting our freedom.
Why do you think they'd want to spend all that money? Like, one of the things that always confuses me is, like, we talk about there's homeless vets and there's all this drug abuse and there's, countless amount of things. People without homes, shelter, whatever it might be.
Proper water in
Yeah.
Flint for a while.
Yeah, and those things don't seem like they would take that much money to solve.
Yeah, they don't.
But we are able to spend billions of dollars in the army. Why do you think it's important for, as you're saying, like these presidents to continue to fund it and
that's what,
why do they want to go to war or whatever?
Yeah, that's what I was coming to that point. So basically what happens is, and you've really seen it during the first Iraqi war with DimeCorp and Halliburton and all these big contract companies, is so they become the beneficiary of these huge contracts that are put out when war starts. So you always see a jump in the economy. Like, whenever even you see Trump talking about, I might go into, Iran, or I might do this or that, you see a stock jump because that means business. So what happens is these companies get these big contracts. Now, since I dealt with money in the military, now I understand how this works. It's supposed to be competitive, so it's supposed to be 3 bids. So anytime I want to spend money, I have to have 3 bids, unless I have somebody can provide something that nobody else can.
What do you mean by 3 bids?
So, for instance, if I wanted to send a security force to Iraq, and 3 companies would provide me this security force, I would award them this contract, which could be millions of dollars. Technically, they're supposed to consider each one of these, and they're supposed to go by guidelines. But they write the contracts in certain ways where they get the company they want. Now,
and is this like weapons,
all of it,
vehicles, all that?
Okay. Anything you can imagine.
Got it.
Like the soldier part of it is, to me, basically just so we can have some kind of like sort of good represent PR type stuff.
Okay.
The majority of the rough stuff that's going on is done by contractors. I have a friend that has been there for 15 years and he's basically just has permission to kill at will, and has killed hundreds of people by his account. And he's a contractor.
And these people that are making all of the weaponry and everything, they're not the ones that are standing on the front lines, are they?
No, they're not. But the money gets spread out. So the point I was getting to, why they do it. So now you see like the president and Congress, even like both sides of that part. They really, when they gave permission for big companies to contribute to campaigns, they opened up the floodgates for this type of behavior. So now DimeCorp gets a $100 million contract from the government, which is taxpayers' money. But now DimeCorp has a floodgate to contribute to politicians' campaigns. So, it's, here's your contract. We'll create this war. You got hundreds of $1 million. I expect to see on the back end this much coming into my re-election efforts.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's hard for people, as you said, like to when they've never been out of your own county or even a state or something, to convince them of these things. So like, how do you, especially in the area we live in, how do you convince people that what you're saying is true?
I mean, mostly when I get into these discussions, I lived it. I've done it.
Right.
I've signed the contracts. I've sent the contracts up. I've seen how it works. And if you really think about it, like, why would we let big corporations have impact on our elections? And even bigger money, like you could see this start to form now, is how this Ukraine thing happened. They're able to get past it. So now you have a situation where we've kind of made the population numb to the fact that we're okay with letting other countries now start to contribute to our elections.
Can you clarify what you mean by a contractor? So they're not from the army, you're saying?
No, they don't go. They're not government employees. They don't have to go by the same rules of the Geneva Convention. So basically, if they get awarded a contract, they're acting on their own. So
they're not even necessarily from the country, right? Like sometimes they get it from other countries.
They can.
So they're contracted as they are their own person that they're contracting their services.
They would be considered independent contractors. So basically, the government is awarding them an amount of money to do a job, but they don't fall under the guidelines of like a soldier would, or somebody that was in the government, because the government's very strict about what you can and can't do as an employer of the government. But when you're a contractor, it's like wipe
It's like
their
a
hands
loophole.
off. It is a loophole.
So I think it's really important that you are able to say this because you are, what people typically will have as, I guess, allies on their side, which is like a white man who has gone to war.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to say any of this kind of stuff, like,
Sure.
I don't know what would happen, but like for example with the flag, right? I think many immigrants or people from different cultures that are at least traveled a bit, for us, like we're well traveled, but like coming from back home, I can say personally that when there's ideas that don't match up with my beliefs, that's not going to be like I'm gonna bow down to that flag. And that's the same way that I think about America, which is just like I love both my home country and this country. I love America. Like it's one of the, I think it's the best country in the world in my opinion. And like the freedom to do and say whatever you want is incredible. Mm-hmm. But a flag to me is like a symbol. Mm-hmm. And like respectfully in my religious views, the only thing that I submit or bow down to is God. Mm-hmm. And like, these are all things that we've created. And so I don't understand, and I'm not really vocal about that with people, especially, as you know, in the area that we live in. But how do you feel about, the flag or symbols of America? And
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you. I've never understood the worship of a symbol or the forced patriotism. Mm-hmm. Like I never thought the word patriotism should be linked with mandated or forced or even the Pledge of Allegiance to me is like a weird thing. Like I have to, as a child, stand up and pledge my allegiance to something. Like it's like
and like by the way, I went to school in Pakistan and we had to do that. Like the whole school had to come out and do that to a flag where we sang the national anthem. So it's like all these countries have it, and the same views about war. Like if you go to another country, they would think that America is terrorists who are coming to invade their home and all that. So
yeah, I've seen that firsthand, and I see why too.
Yeah, so it's like it's weird to me when you say concepts like that are strange, as you are as well, because I'm not just talking about it being an American concept that's weird. I'm saying in general, like the way and the thing is about Americans, like we have the power and the knowledge and ability to get that knowledge, and a lot of us don't. That's like my sort of
that's baffling
struggle
me
with
too. Like it's not information that's that hard. And I feel like it's living in a box, and I feel like everybody that falls into this like has the problem that they're inside of a box and they don't know how to step out of that box because they start to feel uncomfortable. If a guy is like extremely homophobic, he's lived in this box, he doesn't understand it. The minute he steps out of it, he starts thinking, oh my, this is taboo or something.
Did you hear about the Colin Kaepernick situation?
Yeah, sure.
What did you think about that?
I think that, again, it was used as a talking point to push a narrative, a political narrative. I feel like he had every right to do that. The NFL's not owned by the government. He is free to do what he wants. I feel like he even was respectful enough, like, I don't know if a lot of people know, like, he was contacted by an Army Ranger and asked, how can I do this? And an Army Ranger is the one that told him taking a knee is a good way to do it, And I feel like as a soldier, your job is to protect the freedoms of the people that live in your country, and if you're truly honoring that, which you swore to protect is the Constitution, which guarantees you that freedom, then you should be elated that we live in a country that he can take a knee. If you feel like that he can't, then you're looking more for a fascism or type of country.
I never understood that at the beginning of what was even going on, because I was like, oh, I thought taking a knee was like a respectful sign in general.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like when somebody dies, whatever, it might be like so many people take a knee or like go to the ground. It's like almost like a humble sort of.
He could have like turned around. He could have like done so many things that were more disrespectful.
Right.
But taking a knee, I feel.
Yeah. So that's weird.
Yeah, I didn't find that to be offensive at all. And matter of fact, that like and if people want proof that the country's in that state of mind, all you need to do is look at something like that.
Yeah.
And people are not willing to think any differently. Even though his message had nothing to do, like they're saying you're disrespecting the troops. I'm like, how do you go to that from? Did you even understand his point? Like most people don't. If you ask them, they don't even know why he did it.
Whose fault is this? Who do you think is to blame, and who do we need to educate about this? Is it people that just don't know any better, that are living in these small towns, or do you think it's the responsibility of someone else?
I think there's a big disconnect. I think people are they're frustrated. You know, the money. You know, there's jobs. You know, but it's people. You know, have to, 2 and 3 people have to get together to get an apartment anymore. And I think people are frustrated. They need something to believe in, and a lot of times. Media will cover whatever is coming out as these narratives come out. Like, you know I'm starting to ramble, but I think it's an important point. Terrorism was like a huge narrative in this country for a very long time. I said when Donald Trump took office, I said, you're going to see a couple things happen overseas. I knew this before it happened because I knew the pattern. And he's going to see the reaction, and you're going to gauge, that reaction is going to gauge how he uses terrorism as a narrative. There was the France thing. There was a couple things that happened. I called it before it even happened. Didn't get the reaction that he wanted, like he got when, it started happening with 9/11, that time thing. So all of a sudden, there's no narrative for terrorism. Next thing you know, nobody hears a peep about terrorism. So did terrorism just go away because we stopped talking about it, or is it still there and we just don't care? Yeah, I believe it just was never there. Of course, there's going to be people out there that don't like our country because we've done a lot of bad things. If you sitting at home or sitting in your house right now and your town is occupied by a foreign army that controls what happens, you're probably not going to like that army.
Well, not to sound super evil, but I think deep down I might speak for a good amount of minorities or Muslims when I say that, like, when all of these shootings started happening, the domestic terrorism in America, I think Muslims almost were like relieved.
Yeah,
because
sure.
when
at least
we
relieved
see
when you see that it's not a Muslim
when you
person.
see it's not a Muslim, like, I know it's really bad to say that, but like honestly, sometimes you're like, oh God, because
you hold your breath until you find out that it's not a Muslim person.
Because when it's a white person, it's just like that there's going to be no consequence that happens to white people in this country. Like there's not going to be.
They're not going to say that, look at the white people that, they're terrorists. They're not going to be claimed or labeled as terrorists.
Even as soon as Donald Trump got elected, the attacks on Muslims and like other people of color skyrocketed. Yeah. It was the most like
hate crimes
against Muslims and other people, just for the things that he was preaching. Like nobody had even done anything. So when I say that, like, it was almost a relief, like it kind of was. And I don't know how that sounds. But
for me, I was like, like this, like I still am baffled of how our justice system looks at, if a white guy shoots up, a movie theater, he's mentally ill, but if it's anybody else, they're a terrorist or they're.
It's just like, it kind of shows that like evil people are evil people, and as long as you know people from different backgrounds, you go to their house. I mean, you're in this house for, your wife is here, she's here for the second time, and like you understand that just like everybody is. You don't understand that until you get that experience. Yeah. And that's, I think, like maybe.
I think that's what we're lacking a lot of. Yeah. And I think people don't. I think in some ways it's the internet helps because you can, but you have to take that step in that direction to say, I want to learn more about this situation instead of saying, I'm just going to follow, this, and this, and not to alienate anybody. It could be Fox News. It could be CNN, like whatever your thing is. If you put yourself in just that world and you don't try to understand, then you will become a product of what they're telling you.
Absolutely.
It's just like, marketing is kind of like that. You want the new iPhone. You don't know why. It does the same thing, but you want it. It's because
you trust
pounded into your head.
That's a good example, because that's how I am with iPhone. It's like I don't even want to. I had an Android for a bit, and I was just like, you know what? This doesn't feel. Like this is something new, and people don't like that, like changing stuff.
And all marketing
that's good.
All marketing is reprogramming of your head to think in the way that they want you and not yourself. Sure. So you lose your own identity the minute you start. Giving the argument of what you heard on the news or from the president, and that becomes your stance, and you fight for it even though you don't really understand it. You've now become their product of what they wanted. This is what they wanted to achieve. They wanted you to not be able to think on your own. They want you to spit their narrative out every time you open your mouth. And then that's what causes the division in the country. So, my advice to people would be, and this is not from coming from a high place, but I kind of love everybody until you show me that you're not the person that I need to have in my life. I don't care if you're Chinese.
As an individual.
Whatever you are, as an individual.
Right.
My mentor and person that I love probably most in this world is a black male, and he's one of the most amazing people that I've ever met, but you have to have a certain type of open-mindedness to this type of thing, or I believe you're missing out.
Yeah. Well, on that point, I mean, like, you married a Russian girl.
Yeah.
Like,
And she was on this podcast.
I feel like, being in the army and stuff, especially what you hear about, Russia is like the worst place
for
and
like
we're competing
decades.
with them. And honestly, like, you probably know this better, but like from what I've heard and like seen, is just like a lot of these bigger, powerful countries fight against each other using the smaller countries like Syria, Afghanistan. Like Saudi Arabia does the same thing, and they're supposed to be like the holy place. But I mean, like, how did you feel initially about marrying a Russian girl, and the criticism that you might receive with your friends or whoever?
Yeah, sure. When I met Anastasia, like, she had such a profound effect on me. I didn't even really think about her nationality. I was just like, this amazing, funny, beautiful woman. And it just happens that I love her accent too, And when I went to Russia, my whole life I heard, they hate us, this and that. I get there and, I was received with such welcome, like I was part of the family. And the first thing her mom did when she seen me is like kiss me all over my face.
That's awesome.
I'm not even making it up. As soon as I got in the city, her friends were waiting for us. They got us to pull over. They come over running. They're throwing me in the air, like throwing me up and down there like I'm on a trampoline. And I'm just like, this is wrong. Like, people are not understanding what's really happening. Like, every average, everyday people that are living their life and just trying to be happy don't care about these big, government issues that they try to shove down our throat to get us to hate each other, And I would say I was not treated with disrespect from one person. I was there for 3 weeks, my first visit, and I never had issues with anybody. Her family immediately took me in.
Did the army kind of like be suspicious with you, dating or marrying a Russian girl or even going there?
No, they didn't, because at the time that I didn't have a top secret security clearance. If I would have, that would be an issue. Yeah, so
that's interesting. I mean, like, all these things, I feel like you've had enough experiences to understand the viewpoints that you do now, and most people don't have that. But somehow you are still helping other people cope with that, and that's what we originally started this conversation with, which was like, the PTSD thing with the tattooing. What made you think of that? So initially coming out, this overload of information and feeling of like guilt and the things I was going through after the army stuff.
Yeah, after the army, I was I was taking different jobs and corporate jobs. I was feeling a lot of stress and anxiety. I had been given medications, because the VA wants to just give you meds and shut you up, and I decided I had finally got this one doctor that was like told me that, asked me what one of the things I love, and this is something that me and Anastasia really had in common when we met, was music and art, and I was like, God, how can I get into art and get paid and be able to take care of my family and stuff? And I was inspired by a couple other artists, so I was like, you know what, I had a talk with her, and she's like, go for it, man. Like, that's the great thing about her, she's one of those people who's like, go for it, do your thing.
Yes, she is.
She's a very,
if we'll figure it out, just go for it, and I did that, and I got myself to a place where when I was doing art, I was in the moment. And if you listen to a lot of philosophy or meditation, one of the most important things you can do for a healthy mind is to try to be in the moment, and the art really puts me in the moment. So I found out about this group that helps veterans with PTSD. And so they look at your portfolio and they did. So basically what I do is they call it tattoo therapy. I don't offer them any type of medical advice. I'm not a doctor. But basically while I'm tattooing them, I open up to them about my situation. This is an organization called Tattoo Operation Freedom. And you basically talk to them. Then when they hear your story, they open it up and they start talking about it. And just that interaction makes them feel better because they feel like nobody wants to hear. Like if I tell my story to some people, they automatically think, there's something. This guy like doesn't love his country, or it's just the opposite. I love my country, and it kills me to see this happening. So they have this person that's not going to judge them, that they can open up to, even if they're like missing a leg, like, God, I really didn't want to lose my leg. It sounds good to say I fought for my country and lost my leg, but it truly inside that it's a horrible thing, And so joining this so I found now that I'm getting all kind of people in my chair that are getting tattoos that are doing it because they, I've had people that we talked about before we started are just like self-mutilating. And I had to educate myself on that because I see people sit down and they have the cutting and they're trying to escape the realities and the pains that the society is now putting on them because of the amount of information that's coming out.
So they're cutting themselves.
It's like a way to feel.
Because I've heard that some people will get tattoos done on top of tattoos just for the feeling of the pain.
Yeah, and so
how does that work?
That's how they're replacing that type of self-mutilation is like getting tattoos and that immemorial tattoos. So many people have got pain and they use the tattoo to soothe that pain. And it's so from what I just thought was going to just be this thing where I'm doing art, ended up being into, I feel like every time I put ink in somebody, I'm having this relationship with them. And I have these people that keep coming back to me and are telling me their stories. And for instance, this week I just had a lady that got a tattoo, and it was a memorial tattoo. I was like, do you mind me asking what happened? And she told me her son was stabbed to death and murdered.
Wow.
And I'm just like, wow, that got heavy really quick.
Yeah.
But this tattoo reminded her of her son in a good light, and she gave me a hug and was like crying at the end of it. And very rewarding for me. While I've done so much of this stuff, something as simple as tattooing has been probably the most rewarding thing that I've gotten into. And, and I do believe it helps people on a different level of just, I'm getting a skull or I'm doing this. And that does happen, and people just love it for the art, I understand. But a lot of people are doing it because they want to speak out, or they want to rebel, or they want to show that they think about something strongly, or, enough that, putting it on my body, that's how much I care about some of the stuff that I'm doing.
How do you prevent people who do try to go in that self-mutilation route from continuing down that path?
Well, should you prevent them?
No, yeah, I really don't take on that role.
Okay.
I basically talk to them and just
Hear them out.
To share, yeah. And I think a lot of times I've gotten like, I had a text that the girl sent me yesterday who was in well, I don't want to get too specific. So I had a text from somebody that basically is like, you provided like a safe place that I haven't been in. Now this is at a tattoo shop.
Yeah.
That I haven't been able to find in years. And you and the staff there like are caring and loving and left us this amazing review, And she was somebody that did that, and that's the rewarding part of the job.
That's what's incredible is we always talk about this. It's just like when you have conversations with strangers, it's so different, and especially in places where there's not people around you that and I think one of the fears of people is just like judgment in general, and what the people in their lives would think about something like that, or they're afraid to even just speak about how they feel. And you're providing a place where you're sitting down with somebody for hours tattooing, and they just feel like they can let go, and that's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's like I always say it's like a bar. You're like a bartender, but you're not drunk, and you're stuck with me for 3 to 4 hours. And and it's crazy. Like the stories that have went back and forth. It's a really rewarding job. And I have a lot of people like, you were like this, and this for the military and your education, and why are you tattooing? And I'm like, I can't imagine why.
I feel like you're in a way better place now.
Exactly. Like I don't want to be caught in the cog, in the wheel, and then I'm. Just that's it. My life's done, and I live this, cookie cutter style life that I was supposed to. And if you're out there doing that, and you have a passion that you haven't, take a shot. You never know. You never know if it's going to work for you. Like my wife's doing right now. She's taking big risks and taking shots at her dreams.
And you're being an awesome supportive husband.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what counts. I wish I saw somebody getting tattooed one time, a friend of mine, for some reason they took me with them, and nothing happened in that shop, and I wish you were there. Like for hours we were sitting there, and they didn't speak to each other. They didn't speak to me. The guy just kept looking at me every once in a while, and then it was over. I wish you were there, but
So unfortunately, there are shops out there like that, and there's people that are strictly out there to make the money. And I'm not throwing shade on people, that do what they do. You have a lot of choices as a consumer, and I would, just like anything else, I would suggest you do your homework on your artist and on your shop.
It just seems like you would make the experience a lot better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What
I'm
most
saying
people
like
tell us. Yeah.
you're not signing up for like
A therapy session.
Yeah, exactly. But like you're providing a place where people just feel that comfortable. That's so awesome.
And I think it's so profound that through everything that you've been through in your life, growing up in a tough situation, pulling your way to get in the army, seeing all of that, recruiting, and then coming to a tattooing place, and you say now that this is a thing that gives you that you get the most out of.
Yeah, it heals me.
I think that's
You're being healed, and you're like almost healing somebody else,
Right.
which is awesome. But you're stabbing them with this ink pen. No,
Yeah.
Well, I know you're on Instagram. Do you want to shout out your Instagram page so people can see your art, because it's incredible?
Yeah, my shop is called Legacy Tattoo and Art Gallery. It's also got beautiful art there for sale. We have 6 amazing artists there. I'm just one of them.
I've been there, and it's awesome looking
it's
shop.
a beautiful
and it's
shop,
clean.
and it's even been updated even more since you've been there. It's one of the most cleanest shops you'll ever walk into. We care. If you look at go to Google, look up Legacy Tattoo Art Gallery. We have all 5-star ratings. We haven't had one bad rating. My Instagram is CZACK_tattoo.
I have
And
a really
you can
quick
check me out.
question that's like completely off topic, but
Okay.
I've recently like seen the world of like makeup tattoos.
What is
like
that?
what they're
Oh,
basically
like the eyelash.
eyebrows, but
Eyeliner,
also
lips.
eyeliner, lips. Like, what's your take on that? I'm just curious.
Amber wants one.
No, I'm just curious because
I think it's great, and I do have an opinion on it. If you're going to do it, don't get it from a tattoo artist.
Right.
Not that they can't, but there's people out there. One of them who was our best friend, she's It's Nat Tech. If you want to look her up, she is an artist that does nothing but that.
the makeup stuff.
And you want that person
Right.
that has devoted their life to tattooing face makeup, not a tattoo artist that happens to do face makeup on the side.
Right. And like
And there are ones out there to try it.
hair,
you know.
like people who put like the fake
Yeah,
hair.
they're out there. There's
that
even
type of stuff.
if you want to. There's even tattoo artists that specialize in realistic looking nipples for people that have breast cancer.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Amber was just looking for like a real life Snapchat filter, like with the butterfly one.
No,
Sure, if they can provide that.
I had
know
actually
about
met
the
that.
dog filter.
a few people a few years back who I would be like, wow, your eyeliner is always like there, whatever. And then I knew them for like 5-6 years, and I was like, wait. And they were like, yeah, no. I was like, do you put your eyeliner on every morning? And they were like, no, it's tattooed. And then over time, I could see like separation because they were getting older, and like you could see the wrinkles develop,
Yeah.
and so there were spaces in them. So I was just curious what your viewpoint of it was as
Yeah.
a artist,
I mean,
tattoo artist.
it's definitely art. Like again, do your research and look out for people that are posting stuff up that's not their work. You should be able to see their work, and like sometimes you'll see like, wait, the background looks different in all these pictures. That's
They're just posting.
you
other
want somebody that
people's
looks like
stuff.
it's there in the same shop for every
Right.
picture, and
It's like clip art.
Yeah,
It has
yeah.
like the
People
stock
done it.
stock
Yeah.
image sign.
And I still would all get and again, my opinion would be go to somebody that does that full time. They're not like a tattoo artist that happens
That
to
also
do.
does that.
Yeah,
Right.
There's plenty out there. So
Well, Chris, like this was super enlightening, and thank you so much for coming on here.
I think it was great. Great being here.
Before you leave, we have to ask every guest on the podcast one last question. I think you already know what it is, but Shamir, if you want to take that away.
If you could describe yourself in any flavor, what would it be and why?
Man, it's
Have
crazy.
you thought about this?
I knew from the time she did her interview, and I'm like,
Nobody's ever prepared though.
and
Yeah.
I'm never prepared, and it's so hard for me.
It could be anything. It doesn't have to be an ice cream flavor.
I could tell you like my favorite flavor, and maybe there's some kind of correlation.
Tie it in. I'm sure.
I
it'll tie in.
love South Carolina barbecue sauce
Okay.
because it's vinegar, and I love vinegar. I don't know why, and I don't know how it correlates to my personality.
Is it a
But-
dynamic
You know what?
flavor?
It's a very American thing.
It is, and you know, and I'm not that like guy, but because I love.
Is it because it's dynamic and you have a very dynamic character,
Yeah, maybe.
personality?
I don't know. Like maybe it's because it's really good, but people think vinegar sucks.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait. South Carolina.
You know, there's a lot of things that I think are really good, and people are like, "Why does he think that way?" Because you haven't tried it.
Ooh.
So maybe that's
There we go. I was also gonna say like you know the whole Southern thing is like barbecue American, and it feels like very like dangerous, conservative and stuff. But then like for example when we went to Texas and stuff, people were very homey and like welcoming. And that's kind of like you too, which is like you know, you fought in the army and like, you know, you come from this background and patriotism and this and that, but then like, you know, you love other people's cultures and you're like, you know what, like it's not just about this, it's about, you know, embracing everybody.
Sure.
So.
Just because you like something doesn't mean you're that stereotype. You know, it's, you know, just so many people, you know, you think you can judge somebody by something that they eat, then you probably need to do some self-searching, you know.
I definitely judge people by what they eat. I don't judge them, but well, people judge me these guys judge me for what I eat all the time.
That's because you dip bananas in water. But
right,
anyways.
Well, the judging might be like, you don't have a good taste in food, but not, this guy is a white nationalist.
Right.
No,
I think it was really cool that we had your wife on here, and she wants to jump in for a second, but like after getting like a second to interview you and getting time to interview her, I'm very happy that you two are together and that you guys probably embrace each other and love each other and are supportive, because we can see that she has a project called Loop, Life of Interesting People, and how you are willing to embrace other people beyond what you've been through and everything. So I think that's very, very I love that for you guys.
He's like, how did she still make
Okay,
it?
guys. So, speaking of flavors, I have a very special surprise for you.
Okay.
He asked me to wait till the end, but I needed to bring it to you because I promised last time.
What is it?
What is it?
Is that what is that?
Is that
it a
fish?
dessert?
It's a cow tongue.
No, I'm so sorry, but
I'm just gonna show you.
I'm so
Hell no.
So this shit is supposed to be the best.
You guys eat that in Russia?
Yes.
Do you eat that?
No.
Have you ever tried it?
No one is gonna eat
Yo,
it, but
you're touching it. Relax.
Oh, that's gross.
It's like a human tongue.
Oh God.
I told
Are you
her-
sure that's not your enemy's tongue?
Bruh.
All right, we need to put that away.
That's the end of that. That's
we just got done doing a beautiful podcast.
Yeah,
and you have to bring that in.
Shut up! Really?
You ruined your husband's whole experience.
No.
And,
You know, I told her, I
kidding.
said, we're going to have like this serious undertone, and I can see you just being like,
Here's my cow tongue.
They can cut it out, babe.
I don't mind.
I'm not even cutting that. I'm not even cutting that out.
great.
That was amazing.
You cut that tongue out. I'm not cutting
We're
this
definitely
out.
gonna try.
sweetening
Dima,
it now.
I'm gonna send you a video. Dima wants to actually try it, my son, because I knew, I was like, dude, these guys are not gonna make it. They're not gonna try this tongue. I'm gonna bring it back
We're
to
definitely
you.
not.
Yeah, we're not trying the tongue.
We'll try the
brought him
chocolate,
half
but
a candy bar?
So he
Let me-
ate half of it, but so you
Okay,
can eat it. It's proven fact. You can eat it. It's dark
okay, we'll eat it
chocolate.
afterwards. Let me wrap up this podcast real quick. No, but Chris, again, like, thank you for coming on. I feel like you are
Appreciate it.
the exact thing that we search for on this podcast, which is
Absolutely.
like strangers who have beautiful stories and like things that we all learned and perspectives that we were able to change and learn from. So thank you again for coming
I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you guys providing a forum for people in my situation to be able to say, you know, take a look at it from a different way. So
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you everybody for listening to another episode of Strange Flavors. It's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little less stranger.
We'll talk to you next time.